Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
We begin tonight with breaking news. A brush fire prompting evacuations near Torrey Pines. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The fire is burning in the area of Del Mar Scenic Parkway. Law enforcement is now evacuating residents north of Carmel Valley Road, east of North Torrey Pines Road, south of Del Mar Heights Road, and west of Interstate 5. The fire has grown to 19 acres. And the Del Mar Fairgrounds is the temporary evacuation point. Police tell us that 2,500 people have been evacuated and approximately 1,200 are now on evacuation warning. Multiple crews are fighting the flames, which are burning close to homes, and we have been watching video feeds of the fire and have seen fire trucks on residential streets. We've also seen ground crews hiking up to the flames. The San Diego Fire Department reported a 1-acre brush fire earlier in the afternoon. They stopped that fire, but then a spot fire erupted outside of the fire lines. 2 firefighters were taken to the hospital with heat exhaustion, and we have a news crew in the area gathering information as we speak, and we will bring you updates as we get to them.
Well, looking ahead to tonight, if we look around San Diego, we're dropping down to a low of 67. Not bad, but we are dealing with a few low clouds there near the coast. So you may run into some lowered visibility if you are going to be out late or even early in the morning. Though we have a little bit of a cooling trend this week. We'll show you where temperatures go and who could see some excessive heat coming up.
The Auto Club predicts 5.4 million Southern Californians will travel for Independence Day. KPBS reporter Melissa May tells us both the roads and the San Diego International Airport are expected to be packed with travelers.
For the first time ever, the Auto Club of Southern California is including the weekends before and after July 4th as the Independence Day holiday period. And Jane Venegas with the Auto Club says about 80% of the holiday travelers are driving to their destinations.
We do believe that it's going to be more than 4 million Southern Californians who are going to be driving to their destinations. This is a 4.6% increase from last year, a 6% increase from 2019.
Although the roads may be busy, Venegas has some good news for drivers.
Gas prices are going to be slightly lower in Southern California than this time last year in most locations, and this is after 2 straight months of price drops.
Airline passengers can expect pre-pandemic crowds at the San Diego International Airport starting June 28th through July 7th.
What we're seeing now is about a 5 to 7% increase versus last year and about a 3 to 5% increase compared to 2019 numbers.
Nicole Hall is the airport's spokeswoman.
We anticipate seeing as many as 780,000 people coming through the airport. So we really encourage people to plan ahead and give themselves enough time to get to the airport and get to their gate.
That breaks down to about 78,000 people a day over 10 days. The San Diego Tourism Authority expects the city to benefit from the increased travel. In a statement to KPBS, they said, even amid inflation, consumers have reprioritized travel as a necessity rather than a luxury since the pandemic, and are making room in their finances for travel. Whether you are flying or driving to your destinations, expect the busiest travel days to be the Sundays before and after July 4th. Melissa May, KPBS News.
Governor Gavin Newsom's State of the State speech, which was originally planned for March, was delivered today. The pre-recorded address was broadcast online after Newsom and legislative leaders reached a budget deal over the weekend. In the 28-minute speech, Newsom touted the success of the state of California, saying that conservatives and, quote, delusional California bashers depend on the failure of the state.
California, we won't bend. We are a success story exactly because of our universality. and our extraordinary diversity, and because we practice pluralism. For generations, we've stood for progress, championing women's rights and LGBTQ rights, protecting the environment, and expanding civil rights. We see this hard-earned progress not as something apart from liberty and freedom, but as their fulfillment.
Newsom addressed his concerns over gun violence, comparing the higher rates in Republican-led states. He also made talking points over the CARE court system that he worked on to address mental health issues in the state. The San Diego County Board of Supervisors today approved an $8.5 billion budget for the new fiscal year. Highlights include funding for behavioral health, homelessness, affordable housing, justice reform, and public health and safety. It also includes funding to support the DA's office, the Migrant Transition Day Center, and a safe parking lot in Grantville. The new budget will take effect on Monday, July 1st. San Diego City Council this morning appointed a new executive director for the Commission on Police Practices. KPBS reporter Scott Rodd says this is a big step for the police oversight body that has struggled to get its footing in recent years.
The City Council unanimously approved Paul Parker as the next executive director of the commission. He laid out his priorities during the council meeting.
And I look forward to the opportunity to assist this commission, to assist this council in holding law enforcement accountable to the community, increasing the community trust in law enforcement, but also increasing the safety to both the law enforcement and the community members.
Parker is well known in San Diego as an expert in police accountability. He previously led the county's Citizen Law Enforcement Review Board, but he resigned in frustration earlier this year after unsuccessfully pushing for stronger safety measures in county jails. Council members praised Parker's qualifications ahead of the appointment. Here's Councilman Raul Campillo.
He is uniquely qualified for this critical role here in San Diego. He's demonstrated steadfast commitment to accountability and transparency, and of course, building community trust.
In 2020, San Diego voters overwhelmingly approved creating the Commission on Police Practices. It's tasked with reviewing complaints against officers and launching independent investigations. But it took years for the City Council to appoint permanent members, and the Commission is still working out how it will investigate officers. Supporters believe Parker's appointment will help fast-track the Commission's oversight work. Scott Rodd, KPBS News.
Families that lost everything in the January floods say they are still dealing with looters. The most recent case was at a home on Birch Street in Southcrest over the weekend. Our media partner KGTV spoke with a friend of the family who owns the home, and she says the thieves appear to have kicked in the fence, broke into 2 sheds, and stole the tools the family was using to repair their flood-damaged home.
Compressor, 2 chainsaws, an expensive weed whacker that was valued at $400, as well as some other tools, miscellaneous tools that they had to work on. Heartbreaking. For me, it's upsetting because this community has already gone enough.
San Diego police say there are still increased patrols in the impacted neighborhoods to deter looters. Garcia says that does help, but hopes that police can increase patrols overnight. The leading cause of death among America's children and teens is now not medical, but man-made. Lori Geary has more on the U.S. Surgeon General's stunning declaration today and his quest to prioritize public health solutions to gun violence.
Gun violence is a public health crisis in America.
A new advisory from the U.S. Surgeon General is, for the first time, focusing on firearm violence as a top threat to the health of our nation. Most profoundly so when it comes to young people.
We have now reached the point where gun violence is the leading cause of death among kids and teens.
Studies in the U.S. show children 19 and under are more likely to die from a gun than any other cause. An analysis of unintentional firearm deaths among that age group finds that more than half happen in the child's own home, most often related to improper storage and leaving firearms unlocked or loaded.
Half of our kids are worried about a shooting in their school.
Mass shootings make up about 1% of gun deaths, but incidents are rising, according to the Surgeon General's advisory. And they've dramatically changed the way children experience their school years. Active shooter drills have become commonplace, and some schools, like this one in Rockland, California, train kids as young as early elementary age on how to stop a wound from bleeding out.
You could save somebody's life. How does that make you feel?
Amazing.
I love that word, amazing. You're right. Makes you feel amazing.
The Surgeon General's advisory calls for changes like more effective gun laws, safe storage requirements, an assault weapons ban, and universal background checks.
My hope is that we can actually take it out of the realm of politics and put it into the realm of public health, which is where it belongs.
I'm Laura Aguirre for KPBS News.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange agrees to plead guilty to a national security crime in exchange for his release. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And at this time, we want to get back to that breaking news. Crews are battling a brush fire near Torrey Pines, prompting widespread evacuations. And KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen is live now with more. Alex.
Yes, Maya. Well, right now, there are about 2,500 people are being evacuated as we speak. About 1,200 more are under evacuation warnings. And so far, the fire has burned about 19 acres, and it started around about 3:45 this afternoon from a spot fire that started earlier this morning. Now, I'm here with Bob Berman, who lives around here. And, Mister, what did you see this morning? And tell us all about it.
Well, this morning, of course, what we heard was a whole lot of sirens that we're not used to here, and come out and look up, and we could see heavy, heavy smoke and a little bit of flame, and it's really scary having this reserve behind your house. But it seemed like all these fire crews that came in did a great job, and it looked like everything was under control. The smoke had lessened. We all kind of walked away, and were very complacent there. But then maybe 3 hours later, we hear more and more sirens, and as you look up and down the street here, it is just packed with fire crews, and it's amazing that they came from all over San Diego. I'm seeing every kind of fire department and what are those crews coming from Rainbow, whatever, Poway, Encinitas, as far as you can see. So I think the takeaway for me of this is really how well they all work together. And we watched helicopters dropping water and chemicals on the thing, and I don't see any smoke now. So I think it's really a testament to the local authorities how well that they respond to things like this.
Well, thank you, sir. And as he mentioned, there's about 3 fire helicopters right now and 1 fixed-wing helicopters on this fire right now. And for those who are being evacuated, they are being evacuated to Del Mar Fairgrounds. It's a temporary evacuation point at this point. Live in Del Mar, I'm tossing it back to you, Maya.
A federal lawsuit from LGBTQ plus veterans against the military over so-called bad paper discharges overcame a major hurdle last week when a federal judge denied the Pentagon's request to dismiss. KPBS Military and Veterans Affairs reporter Andrew Dyer has more about what comes next.
Before the ban on service lifted in 2010, more than 35,000 LGBTQ plus military veterans left the service with so-called bad paper discharges. Right now, there's 5 named plaintiffs in the suit, which seeks to force the Pentagon to proactively amend their discharges. Attorney Jocelyn Larkin says the judge's ruling indicates that the court might agree that it should include all the affected veterans.
We were not talking about any single individual and what happened to them in the corrections process, but rather a decision that was made at the time that Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed, not to proactively and systematically correct people's discharge documents. And that's really the heart of the case.
The judge denied the Pentagon's motion to dismiss the case. The government argued too much time has passed and that veterans are already able to have their discharge statuses changed. Melissa Johnson is an Air Force veteran and attorney in San Diego. She was forced out of the service in the early 1980s due to her sexual orientation. She says she never bothered to change her paperwork.
The process is hard. It's difficult. It's painful. I mean, I got involuntarily discharged 41 years ago, and I still can't talk about it without getting emotional.
Johnson isn't currently involved in the lawsuit, but hopes it will help her and thousands of affected veterans. Larkin says it's past time for the military to do the right thing.
And I think it is really important because it's the final piece of the government taking responsibility for what was a terrible injustice that hurt so many people in, over their lifetimes.
The suit will continue, and attorneys for the veterans say the next step will be to ask the suit be granted class action status. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
Another step forward in the region's climate goals today. The nation's first all-electric harbor tugboat was christened here in San Diego.
Bless this vessel and all those that sail on her.
The E-Wolf will help larger ships maneuver in and out of the port of San Diego. It was made possible due to a partnership with maritime company Crowley. They say compared to a conventional tug, the E-Wolf has greater torque capacity. The port of San Diego says it's one of many steps toward their goal to lower emissions by 2030.
It's one of several firsts for us. I mean, the first electric tug in the country, the first electric cranes in North America, and soon we're going to have the first electric truck stop.
The E-Wolf is expected to eliminate emissions equivalent to 350,000 gallons of gasoline over 10 years, and that is according to EPA calculations. The Port of San Diego says E-Wolf will have limitations to its number of operational hours and will need to be recharged nightly. Green Oak Ranch is currently occupied by camps, an RV park, and a recovery program. But the majority of that space is now up for sale, and multiple agencies are after it. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne breaks down the offers on the table.
For a long time, Green Oak Ranch was Vista's best-kept secret. Green Oak Ranch Ministries managed camps, retreats, a men's recovery program, and an RV park on the 140-acre property. But in late April, the San Diego County Board of Supervisors voted unanimously to enter negotiations to buy a big part of the ranch, 110 acres.
What I envision for this property is sober living, 24/7 staff and services, 24/7 security, monitoring who comes and goes for both the neighborhood and the program's participants' safety. Longer-term care, not a revolving door, no walk-ins, only referrals, and all residents to be in programs.
Supervisor Jim Desmond introduced the idea of a campus of healing that would bring much-needed service to North County and San Diego as a whole.
See, North County is a board and care desert. And this location would be a great opportunity to significantly expand our regional board and care facility.
Supervisors agreed to enter into negotiations to buy the property for $12 million. But it could cost the county over $300 million to bring the campus of healing to life. Enter interested party number 2, Solutions for Change. That's a nonprofit organization in Vista helping people get out of homelessness. Chris Megison is the organization's CEO. He says they've been in negotiations with Green Oaks Ranch Land Board to purchase the property for a year.
We went through so many different vetting activities with them, multiple meetings. They came here, we went there, many different visits for them to vet us, and then in December of last year we were notified that we were selected as the entity that they wanted to sell it to.
He says they got as far as executing a purchase agreement.
They have our signed purchase and sales agreement in their office right now today, and we've been told that it's imminent any day now. They will sign it and get it back to us. So, but in all that, right, all of a sudden the county of San Diego comes in out of nowhere, right?
Solutions for Change plans to expand on the program they've run for almost 3 decades.
The vision really includes what we do now, but bigger. So we would have a workforce development center there. We would need the City of Vista's approval to do that, and we'd also have on-campus housing.
The City of Vista is contender number 3 for the property, and Solutions for Change has offered to partner with them, giving the city 50 acres that Megison says they can't develop.
There's creeks and there's a lot of brush and that kind of thing. So we'd be happy to gift that to the city. That saves them, $12 million plus, in taxpayer funds.
Vista City Council member Dan O'Donnell says the offer is intriguing, but he's got concerns, including whether Solutions for Change can even make that offer in the first place. In the meantime, the city is doing its own appraisal of the ranch, and O'Donnell sees opportunities.
You can put ballparks here, you can put different park activities, community centers, other things that will benefit the city, but also benefit Green Oak at the end of the day. So I would love for the city to be able to have an opportunity to activate this space in a way that's going to benefit the entirety of Vista as well as keep Green Oak able to operate their ministry that they do here.
He says Vista is in need of more green space, and the city shouldn't miss this opportunity. And losing Green Oak Ranch to the county could mean losing local control of what they decide to do with it.
Is when we don't have access or the ability to kind of work through what programs they want to bring here, you don't know how many people they can actually help. And, you know, what vision they have now may change.
He would also like to see Green Oak Ranch Ministries continue their work. Hannah Gailey, the executive director of the ministry, says all plans jeopardize more than their program.
It is a huge loss for the recovery program. It is a loss for the community. There are not a lot of camp and retreat centers of this size in the area anymore. And so it really has a huge impact on our community, camp-wise, on our program, especially funding-wise. It is difficult to sleep at night not knowing where all of the residents in the RV park will end up.
County Supervisor Jim Desmond and the City of Vista are hosting a town hall about the future of Green Oak Ranch on June 30th. But a final resolution could be years away. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
And KPBS reached out to the land board, which owns the ranch, but did not get a response. In case you missed it, you can find part 1 of this story on Green Oak Ranch's current tenants and what they fear could happen to them on kpbs.org. Or you could check out our YouTube page where you can find all of our video stories in one place.
Well, let's start you off with your weather headlines, what we kind of need to know as we head throughout the rest of the week. Now, we aren't necessarily talking about a whole lot of moisture here across Southern California, though we do have other problems to deal with. Unfortunately, there's going to be some air quality problems, especially through Riverside County through the middle half of the week. Though I told you that those temperatures are going to be coming down a little bit, we're overall and a cooling trend into the weekend. So we'll show you where those temperatures go. As for tonight, we're dropping down to 67 in San Diego, Oceanside 63. Ramona, you're at 57, and well, Borrego Springs still a little warm here tonight, dropping down to a low of 80. And that's where we do have those excessive heat warnings in effect, and that's going to last through Thursday evening. Unfortunately, we are tracking again some intense heat anywhere from Borrego Springs up through Coachella Valley. So if you are in these areas, you're going to want to stay weather aware, especially as temperatures continue to heat up. So drink plenty of water. Take those cooling breaks. I know in the deserts we know what to do, but it's never a bad idea to remind you of how dangerous this heat can be. As for tomorrow, San Diego, you're at 75, Oceanside 78. Borrego Springs getting into those triple-digit teens with a high of 110. And Mount Laguna, not too bad. You're at 74, even though Ramona, you're going to be flirting with 90. Let's take a look at these next few days here on our 5-day outlook. Here along the coast, we're staying in the mid-70s here for the most part. So overall, you're not going to really see too many changes. Now, further inland, we're going to be down to the mid-80s, though we do start to rise again as we head into the end of the weekend. We're at 90 there by Sunday. As for the mountains, comfortable, I would say, sitting in the 70s, though it is going to be quite toasty. By next weekend, 90 on tap by Sunday. As for the deserts, well, we're staying in those triple digits. Of course, not unusual for this time of year. But even by the end of the weekend, we're reaching those triple-digit teens. So heads up, it's going to be a hot week. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Bree Guy.
Some disappointing news for Padres fans. Star right fielder Fernando Tatis Jr. may be out through the All-Star break. Tatis was placed on the 10-day injured list yesterday due to a stress reaction in his right femur. That injury has been nagging him for basically the whole season. Team manager Mike Schilt says Tatis could play with the injury, but it won't get better without any rest. An update now on some breaking news. A brush fire burning near Torrey Pines. Law enforcement is now evacuating residents north of Carmel Valley Road. East of North Torrey Pines Road, south of Del Mar Heights Road and west of Interstate 5. Police tell us that 2,500 people have been evacuated and around 1,200 more are now under a warning to evacuate. The San Diego Fire Department reported a 1-acre brush fire that was earlier in the afternoon in the area of Del Mar Scenic Parkway. They did stop that fire, but then a spot fire erupted outside of the fire lines. Now the fire is up to 19 acres. The Del Mar Fairgrounds is the temporary evacuation point for residents. We're also told that 2 firefighters were taken to the hospital suffering from heat exhaustion while they were fighting the flames. And of course, we will continue to follow this developing story and bring you more information online at kpbs.org. And here is a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. Billions of federal relief dollars were sent to schools during the pandemic. NPR's Morning Edition has a look at 2 new reports examining whether they helped students make up for the learning that they missed. And KPBS is hosting an online panel discussion on the rising cost of living in San Diego. Midday Edition host Jade Hindman will speak with experts about driving factors of those costs and explore community-based solutions to the crisis. That will stream on KPBS's YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram tomorrow at 6 p.m. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, of course, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Maya Tribulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.